On this episode, we look at obstacles to bicyclists in Kansas City. Then we learn about the Share the Road Safety Task Force. We visit the Kansas City Riverfront Heritage Trail. We visit Lincoln, Nebraska for the American Discovery Trail. We look at a trail bridge over Interstate 440 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Finally, we learn about the Initiative for Healthy Infrastructure in New York. Stay tuned. We're in Kansas City, Missouri, talking with Art Goff. What are some of the obstacles that bicyclists face trying to get around Kansas City?
Kansas City is probably, I think, has the most highway and interstate miles of any city of a comparable size. And so, rather than just having rivers to deal with, bicyclists and pedestrians have to deal with trying to cross freeways and freeway intersections. Other, I think, is an attitude because of its large geographical size. You hardly get anywhere without having a car. A car has become essential. It's just part of the landscape. And so people don't recognize cyclists and pedestrians as part of the highway, or I shouldn't say highway mix, part of the transportation mix. I think that makes it kind of challenging if you're just a normal everyday pedestrian or you're a cyclist trying to use it for transportation.
And you have the Missouri River going through the middle of the city.
Missouri River.
What sort of challenges does that present?
Currently, none of the bridges are bicycle pedestrian friendly. A couple of them are sort of usable, maybe adequate, but they're poorly connected to other parts of the system. And some of them just have no facilities at all. I think it's particularly bad for pedestrians because most of the places all you have is a wide breakdown lane which you can ride a bike in and you can walk in, but it's really not like a sidewalk or a protected pedestrian way.
Is it all bleak? Are we seeing any good things happening around here?
I think, I don't know if you can see it in this shot, but behind us there's lofts, and over here there's lofts, and over there there's lofts. And I think you're starting to see an increase in density of where people live. People are returning to the idea of neighborhoods like they were, probably half a century ago. For the longest time, a neighborhood was a suburban bunch of houses. That's all was there. You had houses and you saw your neighbors, and that was your neighborhood. But people are starting to recognize that a neighborhood should have places to shop and places to eat and all the facilities without having to necessarily get in your car and drive a long distance. And so in downtown Kansas City here and other parts of it, you're starting to see lofts and similar high density housing, and those people are going to want to have facilities for everyday stuff, and they're pretty soon going to get tired of getting in their car to go get it. And so I think that'll drive the return of a true neighborhood where you can live somewhere and walk to the neighborhood store and walk to the neighborhood coffee shop and walk to the neighborhood whatever. And it's happening here in downtown. It's happening near where you're staying up in a little place called Zona Rosa. Was a development that's being built around walkability. And the second phase includes, I think, 600 apartments. That may be an incorrect number, but it's a pretty large number of apartments being built as part of the facility to go along with their shopping district. So I think Kansas City is changing. I think what people want is changing. People are tired of driving everywhere. The congestion is getting worse. You drive and you sit in your car, and people just don't like it. I think people are ready to get out of their cars and do something different.
We're in Kansas City, Missouri, talking with Deb Ridgway, who's Alternative Transportation Manager with Bridging the Gap. What is Bridging the Gap?
We're an environmental nonprofit that connects business, community, and government on environmental issues.
And as the Alternative Transportation Manager, what do you work on?
I run a program called Clean Commute that works primarily with businesses to encourage alternative commute options for their employees. I also host workshops and bike skills clinics to, again, just encourage people, help build their skills, and opportunities for them to try an alternative mode, not just for their work commute, but for utilitarian trips as well.
You have a new task force that you're on. What is it?
The Share the Road Safety Task Force is a collection of representatives from 70 different organizations gathered together in response to the high number of bike and pedestrian fatalities we've had in the Kansas City region. We've had 5 cyclists killed just since Memorial Weekend and a total of 10 pedestrians so far this year. We're highly concerned about this high incident rate and what we can do to make our roads safer. So the task force has come together, and we're organizing October as Pedestrian Safety Month, and next May will be Bike Safety Month as an effort to raise awareness in our community of how to share the road more safely.
What's the key to sharing the road safely? I mean, what are we trying to get people to do?
In part, we're asking motorists to slow down, drive the speed limit, to just be aware and look for pedestrians and cyclists on our roadways, to make sure that they, when they're stopped at an intersection, they're not blocking a crosswalk, and really, honestly, just slowing down. And for pedestrians and for cyclists as well, that there's things they can do to be safer on the road. One is making sure if they're out at night that they're visible, they wear light-colored clothing, they have something reflective on them. Also for them to know what the rules of the road are for them, whether it's, riding to the right, when do you take a lane, knowing what hand signals to use to indicate turning movement as a bicyclist, all of those things that we may take for granted and think that everybody knows, but maybe they don't.
We're in Kansas City, Kansas, talking with Darby Trotter with Kansas City River Trails. What is that organization?
Kansas City River Trails is the not-for-profit arm of the Riverfront Heritage Trails, which is the urban central trail that's being developed in the Kansas City area for the overall Metro Green program. So that's it's a 9-mile presently constructed program with 2 or 3 miles left to go.
What's this bridge we're standing on?
We're standing or looking, and behind us is a bridge, a pedestrian bicycle trail bridge that comes over the Kansas River, or what in the area is often known as the Kaw River, and it allows people in Kansas to cross over the river, pedestrian and so forth, safely cross over the river and tie up to trail systems on the Missouri side.
What is this trail going to connect when it's all finished?
The trail system is designed to connect first 2 developing communities, Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. It's also designed to connect an area-wide regional trail system, ultimately with hopes of having a trail bridge over the Missouri River. It will also connect to communities on the north side of the Missouri River. So it is designed as the hub of the overall trail system into Kansas City. It is spokes don't work too well without a hub, and it is the hub. And so that's kind of where we are. The name of it is very important to us. Riverfront is important because it is designed for the riverfront. Largely, it extends along riverfront property. It therefore attaches or brings together communities and parks that are overlooking or part of the riverfront. It also, a next word in terms of Riverfront Heritage Trail, it also brings together Kansas City's oldest heritage, or ties together all of the more historically significant parts of this overall community, both Kansas and Missouri, going all the way back to the days of the early discovery to current days, and the variety of things that occurred in this area that had central significance because they were centrally driven by issues and by the community next to the river. And that included trapping, that included the early steamboat traffic, it included the Santa Fe and Oregon Trail, it included the Army developing and pulling troops through here for the war with Mexico. It was the Lewis and Clark expedition landed here, and it goes on and on. It's just amazingly historically significant. The bridge, one of the first bridges that crossed the Missouri River and opened up the Southwest, was here, and so forth. So our trail and ours, the whole community's trail, is going to be one that is put together with a whole lot of artwork and historic signage that is going to be of I think, educational value to the people that come along the trail and are going to see how important of it. This particular bridge crosses the Kansas River, and the Kansas River, I'm going to give an example, was to the slaves called the River Jordan, because Missouri was a slave state, Kansas was a free state. When they could cross the river here, then they could move to Quantico, not to Quantico, but to Quivira, and into various places in Kansas City, and so on the Kansas side, and so that is really a hugely important thing. When the river is down, you can literally walk across it, and so that is what a lot of slaves did with their kids above their heads to safety. That is only one of the enormously important things. Off to my left is Caw Point Park, which has its significance as the landing place for the Lewis and Clark expedition. So that's almost within a stone's throw. So all of these things are just in this area, and we need to, as a community, reach back, redevelop those, bring the community back to the river, and allow them to see how important this area is.
And you mentioned the difficulty of getting across the Missouri River. What other missing links are you still working on to get the trail completed?
Well, the main thing that will make this a truly bi-state trail is a bridge from a park that we developed over near the river market area, and over some railroad tracks down to this level. So it's from a bluff bridge, river bluff, down to the ground level, to river level, and that will allow all of the trail systems in Missouri to be tied up with all of the trail systems in Kansas. That one bridge is now the most significant item in all of our in everything that our group is now looking at. It's number one on our agenda for financing.
We're in Lincoln, Nebraska, talking with Ross Greathouse. What's your connection with the American Discovery Trail?
I'm on the board of directors of the American Discovery Trail, where I currently serve as the secretary.
And what is the American Discovery Trail?
The American Discovery Trail is a 16-state trail going from Delaware to California across America. There's a northern route and a southern route, which separates at Cincinnati and Denver. And it's a designated, marked in most cases route. Sometimes it's on a trail, sometimes it's on a convenience road or an area adjacent. But it's a continuous way to get across America on your feet or on your bicycle.
So it's open now. People could travel
Absolutely.
today.
We have travelers going across now, and we try to keep track of them, and we give them help from state to state if they need assistance in any way. Sometimes in the states like Utah and Nevada, we have to give them some assistance with distributing food and water, because they get into areas where they're a long ways between rest stops.
What's been your involvement with trails here locally in Nebraska?
For about the last 25 years, I've been involved in helping build the trails in the state of Nebraska. I've been on state committees and city committees. I'm the founder of the Nebraska Trails Foundation, which has raised about $6 million from private sources to help build the trails here in Nebraska.
What sort of opportunities do you have to build trails?
Well, our best opportunity, of course, is our rail trails and the National Trails Act, which allowed for rail banking of railroad rights-of-way. And the purpose of that, of course, was that should a railroad want it back, to put it'd be just like soil banking is with the farm, in the farm community. And so the purpose was to keep these continuous pieces of right-of-way together. And so they could be used for any purpose off in the future that we don't even know about. How about a pneumatic tube from here to Maryland that you and I could get into and ride back and forth on the railroad right-of-way for any purpose? And so it's just a great idea to keep these rights-of-way intact and why not use them for recreation while we're doing that, and for not just recreation but to get to work, commuter trails.
So what are some of the more successful projects you've had going on in the, let's say, the Quad State area here?
Well, in the Quad State area, right here in Nebraska, probably the most ambitious one, of course, is what we call the Cowboy Trail, which goes from Norfolk, Nebraska to Chadron. It's a 320-mile rail trail, of which we have approximately 150 miles of it completed now, and so hopefully in my lifetime it'll get done. But if it doesn't, it may get done in your lifetime.
Okay. Then you have something called the Quad States Trail Plan.
The Quad State is was a figment of my imagination, and all it is it defines the states of Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri, and it's a plan to connect the trails in those 4 states. And of course, that would also connect the northern route of the American Discovery Trail to the southern route of the American Discovery Trail. So it's a connection between those two segments of the American Discovery Trail, plus a way to connect our states together.
Some of the trails have been around a while, the Katy Trail in Missouri, the Wabash Trail in Iowa. How successful are they?
Well, it's hard to measure that success, but we see some of it in the development of within small communities, particularly within the small communities. Although trails have a big impact in Lincoln, Nebraska. We know that because we've done trail surveys for our local trails organization has done a survey for the last 14 years. And so we have some pretty good data that the governments use to do that. But one of the best examples, of course, is at Rocheport, Missouri, and on the Katy Trail, about about 10 miles out of Columbia, where the University of Missouri is located, central part of Missouri. A town, Rocheport is pretty much an abandoned town 15 years ago, and now it's a thriving small community that people love to live in, and great restaurants and bike shops, and it's become a significant town again because of the Katy Trail. And so it's a great economic development story. And not that the trails are always economically, but I think it's, when you think about it as a linear park going from between the cities, and a great place for the people in the metropolitan areas to see a bit of the country. And what does recreation mean? Well, I think the word, if you break it down, it's called recreate. So we recreate our minds and our bodies, and can't think of a better way to do it than on your feet or on your bicycle.
And here, close to your home turf, what's going on here in Lincoln and Omaha?
Well, we're going to be finishing what we call the Mopac Trail, which after the old Missouri Pacific Railroad, the acronym for it is Mopac, and the Mopac Trail is it's approximately 15 miles from being completed between Omaha and Lincoln. So we'll have a 60-mile continuous trail, and I jokingly say to my friends, you can quit driving down I-80 and between the two cities. You can just get on your bicycle and go back and forth. So, and hopefully we'll have some nice stops in between. We've already got a nice stop at the YMCA camp right on the river, right next to a new bridge that we just have completed. So that's really good. And of course, the development of the Cowboy Trail. We're also doing the Homestead Trail between Lincoln and Marysville, Kansas, which is a 72-mile trail. And the reason we call it the Homestead Trail, Beatrice, there's a national homestead monument at Beatrice, Nebraska, where it's one of the original homesteads, land homesteads that from the Homestead Act back in the 18th century, 19th century, and they have a log house and a bit of history, and so therefore the name, and it is in several stages of development. Probably it'll be another 10 years before we get it completed, but who's in a hurry?
We're in Raleigh talking with Eric Lamb with the City Public Works Department. What's this bridge we're on?
This is the one of the high points of the City of Raleigh's Greenway system. We're on the Reedy Creek Greenway Trail, which has a 660-foot span over the I-440 Beltline. It's the longest pedestrian bridge in North Carolina. It was part of a 2-mile-plus Greenway project that went through parts of East Raleigh, and it's part of a long-term plan to connect up all the way out to Umstead Park. So it'll connect the city core to a large state park that's on the west side of town. But it is a project that spans over the outer loop. It's a major pedestrian link. Raleigh was one of the first cities in the country to have a comprehensive greenway plan, and this has fit very well into that package.
Now, when you're trying to create a network of greenways, what problems would you have if you couldn't manage to get across a road like 440?
I mean, the interstate loops and interstate highways are significant barriers. I mean, they may as well be waterways. I mean, they're great walls, if you will. So we have to look at topography. We have to look at places where the connections make sense. We have to look at cost efficiency. All those factors come together when we're trying to pick a location to try and create these type of pedestrian crossings.
Since it's been up, what have people thought of it? Has it gotten a lot of use?
Absolutely. People love this greenway. It's really exciting. It is one of the big destinations that the city has now that people will come, not just to use the greenway as a transportation corridor, but for recreation. They will come to the greenway. It has become a terrific destination, and it's become, as you can see the bridge from the highway, it's really become a postcard picture for the city.
We're in Saratoga Springs, New York, talking with Jeff Olson, who's director of IHI. What is IHI?
IHI is the Initiative for Healthy Infrastructure. It's based at the State University of New York at Albany. And it's a project to look at the connection between transportation infrastructure, public health, and whether the projects we're doing are making people better.
Why would we think there might be a connection between those things?
I think we've seen a big connection in the United States in the last decade as transportation money has been invested in facilities for walking, bicycling, and trails. And what we're trying to do is investigate whether or not some of those investments are helping relate to health outcomes in communities, and we're looking at counties throughout New York State.
And what sort of data do you look at to try to eke out that relationship?
Well, there's a range of them. You look at things like what communities are spending on school busing, for example, and the cost to bus children. And then you look at other communities doing safe routes to school projects and see maybe they're saving some money on that and the result in kids being healthier. You look at the macro scale projects. Are we spending money on large highway and transit projects and not including the facilities for pedestrians and bicyclists, maybe only focusing on transportation mobility, but not focusing on how people get around and whether they're physically active? And those choices are being made in communities every day.
What sort of results do you have so far, and when will you see the final results of the project?
Well, it's a 5-year effort. We're beginning in our 4th year right now, and we've seen some really exciting things come out of it. We've got a couple pieces of state legislation that have evolved that'll help make it easier for communities to do projects like safe routes to schools. We've seen a lot of local communities adopting new policies that make sure that walking and bicycling get integrated into their transportation planning. I think the biggest outcome, though, has been people seeing the connection between physical activity, public health, and the built environment, and realizing that the decisions we make and what we build can have a tremendous effect in things that are not directly related to what that money is being spent on. What looks like a transportation project may very well have components of walkability and bikeability that up until now a lot of communities didn't realize.
Has there been any interest in this project from out of state, other people that might want to copy it?
Yes, we've talked and done a lot of presentations at conferences. There's been a lot of discussion about how this might evolve, and certainly the work of organizations like Robert Wood Johnson Foundation that have really pushed this issue nationally. We're working closely with them, National Institute of Health and others. There are a lot of projects like ours trying to do similar things all over the country, and there's a growing network of people who are making that happen.
Visit us on the internet at www.pedestrians.org.